Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a basic dip powder application tutorial from beginning to end, including all of the tools that you're going to need to do your at-home dip mani. And so let's get into it right away. So one of the most important things that you're going to need when doing your dip mani is a good file. I really like these. I got them on Amazon. Makartt makes a very similar file. I can link everything that I am showing you in this video down in the description box if it is still available. I do also like glass nail files. I don't use them as often as I probably should, because they are really nice files, but I have two different kinds. This one is by Bohemian glass, and the first one I showed you is from Bonafide Beauty. I like both equally well. They work about the same and they're really nice to look at. I use this file for shaping my nails. Actually, it's the file I use the most. I like the shape of it. I mostly use the 180 grit. Because the 100 grit is very, very coarse. I would never ever use that on your natural nail. But the glass files are really nice for smoothing out edges, for going around the cuticle line and smoothing that area out. They are actually really great for getting in that cuticle area. The next thing I actually use this more than the glass file because it's really narrow and thin, and it can get into that space very easily to perfect that cuticle line. And the next thing you need is some buffer blocks. I have the little mini buffer blocks. A lot of people use the orange ones, but you know, me and my purples. But I really like this buffer block because it has grit all the way around. So it's great for smoothing out and perfecting the cuticle line after you use the glass or the metal file. I do have cuticle clippers or nippers as people call them. I don't use them often, and I don't suggest you use them unless you have a piece of dead cuticle that is, you know, sticking up or what have you. It's just not good to clip your cuticles because a lot of that tissue is still alive. So anyway, I don't use those very often. These are cuticle pushers. There's two different kinds that I like to use. I like the glass one. It's Czeck glass. This one's from Bonafide Beauty, and I like it because it's a very fine grit on it, and it helps to get all of the dead cuticle off the nail bed without ruining the nail bed. And then you can use the metal pusher to, you know, push back any cuticle still there and kind of scrape it away. I do a dry prep. I do not soak my fingers. I do not use any water of any kind because I just feel like it helps the dip application, and the dip adheres better to the natural nail. So I showed you can also use an orange stick as a cuticle pusher if you don't have one. Brushes are important for sweeping away excess powder. I like the soft one, and but I use the nail brush quite a bit. Lint-free wipes are good to have. If you don't have them, you can use paper towels, but my favorite thing to use are, believe it or not, dinner napkins. And then I have some cotton pads, which are okay for like removal and stuff like that, but I don't really use them during the dip process very much. The next item that I find extremely useful during the dip process are like orange sticks and toothpicks to help clean up the cuticle area. It helps with cuticle cleanup quite a bit because it's very pointy, and you can get close to the cuticle and sweep away any excess powder or dip liquid that like if you flooded your cuticles or you got too close to the cuticle. As many of you know, if you watch my videos, I actually prefer to use water marble tools, and you can get them on Amazon, you can get them on AliExpress. That one is my new favorite. The next thing I'm going to go through is the liquids that you need. The first liquid that I suggest you have is a pH prep or a dehydrator, which dehydrates your nail and gets rid of all your natural oils to help with adhesion. Then you will need a base liquid to use to apply your dip powder with. Then you will need an activator, which cures the base and dip powder and makes it harden so that it can be filed and buffed. And then finally you will need your top coat. And I am a dip top coat girl. I prefer dip top coat, but some people really love a good gel top coat. That's just not my thing. Another thing I really recommend having is a good clear dip powder. I use it for encapsulating all of my nails after my dip application. I use it for glitters, I use it for solids and shimmers, I use it for everything. It just protects your color from all the filing you're gonna do. And then the final thing that you're gonna need is whatever dip powders you wanna use. I chose to use Winter Solstice by Mystic Moon Dips Company because I knew I was only going to be using one dip powder this mani, so I wanted to use a thermal. I did go ahead and apply off camera my unpeeled base. I use it because I do my nails quite a bit. So on my natural nails, I have a builder gel overlay, and then I applied my peel base on top of that. If you don't do your nails as often as I do, you don't need the peel base. You can soak off with acetone, and that will be just fine for you. The first thing that I do in my dip application is my nail prep, which includes pushing back my cuticles and clearing away any dead skin that might be on the nail bed, and this will help your dip powder adhere to your natural nail. Usually what causes lifting is if you haven't taken care of getting rid of all of your cuticle on your nail bed, because it's called an invisible cuticle. There is skin that grows up over your nail that you might not be able to see, but trust me, it is there. So pushing that back and getting it off of your nail bed is really important to help your dip adhere to your natural nail. The next thing that I do is I do a little bit of nail shaping. I don't go into too much detail with this before application because I do a lot of my shaping after I apply my dip and I've activated. But what you can do is get the general shape that you want and get rid of any any growth that has changed the shape of your nail, etc. And then use the very fine 180 side to kind of rough up your nail bed a little bit, but don't over file. You don't need to do a whole lot of filing. On your natural nail, for the most part, any ridges or imperfections will be covered up by the dip, so don't worry about that. Really, you're just roughing up the nail to help it adhere. The next thing you need to do is dehydrate your nails. Now, I want to clarify that earlier I said that off camera I applied my peel base. At this point in the video, I haven't done that yet. I kind of got ahead of myself, but I actually dehydrated and then off camera I put on my peel base, which you will notice here because my nails look shinier. Anyway, so I just wanted to clarify that because you can't put on your peel base and then dehydrate. That would ruin the peel base. So what I'm going to use for this mani today is a kit of liquids that I got off of Amazon. I've used it in one of my prior videos. It's the Model 1s kit, and I'm using it today because one, they are really great quality liquids, and two, they're very inexpensive. You get 6 liquids for about $22, which is a great price. It comes with extra brushes. It comes with a brush saver, which I have not had to use yet. It comes with instructions, and it explains what all of the different liquids are and how you use them. It gives you step-by-step directions on how to apply their liquids with dip powder. These are the 3 liquids that I'm using today: the base, the activator, and the top coat. And now we're going to get into the dip process, and I'm going to go step by step And so this is going to be kind of a long video today because I really wanted to kind of do a detailed tutorial and show you exactly what my process is. Another thing that I like to have on hand is cupcake liners because they're great for catching excess powder while you're dipping, and it makes it easy to kind of catch and save any dip powder that may spill out over the side of the jars. This is most helpful, especially with these little mini jars. So now we're going to start applying our base liquid, and as I pointed out, I usually start placing my brush in the center of my nail and brush out towards the tip, and then I start again at the center of the nail and I push the brush back towards the cuticle line, which allows the brush to fan out, which also gives great coverage and helps to not flood your cuticles. Once I've dipped into the powder, I pick up whatever tool I've chosen to use and I run that tool along my cuticle line, and that helps to clean out any excess powder or liquid that I've gotten into my cuticles, and then I usually will press down with my finger to smooth that edge out. And then I repeat the process. Chat with you a little bit here while you watch me apply my dip powder, and I want to know, how many of you are new to dipping? How many of you are not quite ready to try it, but you're curious and you're watching tutorials to get up the nerve to maybe try it? I was one of you. I've been dipping for about 1.5 years now. But when I first started, I probably watched, I don't even know how many videos before I was brave enough to jump in with both feet. I bought a kit, and I was feeling pretty confident until I looked at it and it came in the mail, and I was like, I'm a little intimidated. I'd watched my nail technician do dip powder on my nails for, I don't know, about 1 year before I was finally like, I think I can do this. And maybe I can do it better. But then I got the kit in the mail and I was like, maybe not. So I watched quite a few tutorials on how to dip, and they were all really great. And I learned a whole lot from watching them, and everybody does their dip process a little bit different. Everybody uses slightly different tools. Everybody has a different technique. Some people like dip top coat. Some people like gel top coat. Some people actually do the gel method, which I've never done, but I have been tempted to give it a try just out of curiosity to see if I like it any better. I personally love the strength that dip gives me, and I like the dip liquids for that reason. My nails are very brittle and they break very easily, so the added strength from the dip powder is really what drew me to it in the first place. But if any of you would like to see me do the gel process, the gel method of applying dip powder, I'd be happy to do that for you. So if that is a video you'd like to see me do, leave a comment down below and I will get to doing that for you. I am finishing up my thumb now, and then I am going to do a second dip. I always do 2 dips of color, sometimes 3 if it's a really sheer color, but for the most part I stick with 2 dips. This color is a little bit sheer, but I don't mind that because it's a thermal, and it's really not as noticeable that it's so sheer. I actually really like the look of it, so I went with just the 2 straight dips of color. That is really a personal preference. Some people do 3 or 4 dips if they want added strength. I feel like that makes my nail a little bit too thick, so I just stick with the 2 dips of color, and then I encapsulate and clear. So I'm brushing away the excess powder right now. I really like using a stiff bristle brush for this purpose because I feel like it makes the dip powder a bit of a thinner application. So now I'm going to get into the second dip, and I'm going to do the same exact process as I did with the first dip. And I'll let you just hang out and watch me do that, and I will return for clear encapsulation. Okay, I am all finished with my 2 layers of the color that I chose to use. And here you're going to see exactly why these cupcake liners are a lifesaver, and it helps you from wasting any powder. And it's so easy to just fold that into a taco shape and put it right back into the jar, just like that. And they're really inexpensive, so that's a useful thing to have. So now I am going to brush off all the excess powder, and I am going to dip into a clear powder to encapsulate all of this beautiful sparkly goodness. Now, this is an optional step. You don't have to encapsulate your dip powder in clear if you don't want to. If you want to protect the color, you could always do 3 dips of the color instead of a clear. But I do highly suggest that if you use glitters of any kind, that you at least encapsulate the glitters in clear, because glitters are very susceptible to filing, and it could literally ruin your mani if you don't encapsulate them in clear. However, I like to encapsulate all of my nails in clear. It's just something I've gotten used to doing, and I really feel like it does a nice job of protecting my color. So that is what I'm going to do here. It is the same exact process as when you're applying a regular color. You apply your base liquid, you dip into the clear. The only thing that I do differently with clear dip powder is I will take my finger and I will press the clear into my nail, and I do that because I feel like, for me, it ensures that my clear is completely smooth and clear, that there are no bubbles or specks or any kind of other, like if you saw my pinky, I kind of hit it on the side of the jar and I just used my finger to press it back down and it was fine. It's just something that I started doing it, and I realized that when I did start doing that, I had a much better application of the clear dip. I never see any imperfections in my clear anymore. So it's just a personal preference. It's a habit I've gotten into doing. It's not necessarily something that you have to do. You can try it, and if it works for you, great. If it doesn't seem to make any difference at all, that's okay too. It's just what I do. So I'm going to do the same exact process on all of my nails. I use my cuticle tool, my water marble tool, whatever you call it, to clean up my cuticle lines just like I do when I'm applying the color. And I will be back for activation. Now that I have clear capped all of this beautiful dip in clear, I am going to activate. Activator hardens the dip and the base coat. Okay, so you need to activate your nails in order to be able to file and shape them. This is a very important step. Do not skip it. Also, do not be afraid to be super generous with your activator. You want it to seep through all of the layers that you have applied. So I personally always activate twice. I go through all 5 nails and activate, and then I go back and I do it again. I have actually had situations where I did not apply enough activator and it did not harden the dip, and when I went to file, it just started peeling up as I filed, and it was awful, and I had to remove everything with acetone because it was before I started using peel base, and it was just a disaster. So just make sure that you apply plenty of activator and then wait a good 2 to 3 minutes for the activator to fully cure. And while we wait for that, can you just take a look at this powder? Holy cow, can you see those 3 colors? It's a triple color changer. When I put the activator on, you could see it. It goes from white when it's warm to a light blue when it's cool and a deep purple when it's cold. I am so impressed with that thermal change. It's beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to get into my filing. And now, usually I use an e-file. In this video, I am only going to use a hand file because I wanted to show you guys that even though I love my e-file and honestly, it is something that I would never want to give up, it is possible to get a beautiful dip mani with nice cuticle lines without having an e-file. It is not a necessity to do a dip mani. So I'm going to file with my hand file. I'm going to shape all of my nails. I hold it at an angle. You never want to file absolutely flat on your nail because our nails aren't flat. They're curved. So hold your nail file at an angle. Use the curved edge to get as close to your cuticle line as you possibly can. That's why I love this shape file. That curved edge is perfect for the edges of your cuticles. I use the flat side down when I'm shaping. I just think it gives me more control that way. And I smooth out any bumps. I thin out the sides of my sidewalls because adding dip does make your nails a bit wider. It adds like width and like thickness. So I like to thin that out because I don't want my nails to look too thick or too bulky. So I do a whole lot of filing, guys, because I'm very picky about my shape and I'm very picky about the thickness of my nails. So I am going to finish my pinky in real time and smooth it out and get all the edges and the sidewalls smoothed. And then I'm going to speed through the rest of them because I pretty much go through the same process for all of them. And I will be right back. Okay, so now that I have the general shape and thickness that I want for my nails, I go in with my metal nail file. And I am going to perfect my cuticle line. I use the edge of it and I use the finer grit side of the file, and I just go around the cuticle line carefully and just basically remove any edges that don't belong there. You'll be able to feel it while you're filing. You'll know when it's as smooth as you can get it, because you can kind of feel it as you're running it along the edge of your cuticles if there's anything getting in the way or snagging on the file. So that's what I do on all 5 of my nails. It doesn't take very long because I did do a lot of filing already. So this is really just cleaning everything up and perfecting that cuticle line. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my buffer block and I am going to smooth out the surface of the nail and clean up any ridges that might be there from the metal file that I use, because sometimes in cleaning up the cuticle area, you know, it's not flush to the nail, and you really want the dip powder to be as flush to the nail as you can get it, so that you don't get a whole lot of lifting without, you know, removing too much of the color. But yeah, so that's what I do with the buffer block. Sometimes I have to go back in with the metal file if I find an area that needs a little bit more attention. But other than that, I just buff the daylights out of these nails to get them nice and smooth so that my top coat goes on really nicely. Okay, I think we're all set. These are about as smooth as I'm gonna get them. So the next thing I like to do, because I don't use any water while I'm doing my manis, I feel like I get a better adhesion. I choose to use alcohol to clean up any dust or debris that is left on my fingers from all the filing. Alcohol, that's another thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. Isopropyl alcohol along with acetone, although I don't use acetone very often. I do like to have it on hand, but isopropyl alcohol is just a must-have for me. I use it a lot in cleaning up my nails. Yeah, so I do that, and then the next thing I'm going to do is my second activation. The second activation is also really important when you are using a dip top coat. If you choose to use a gel top coat, you do not need the second activation because you're not using it to cure your top coat. You're using a UV lamp to cure your top coat. But if you are using a dip top coat, you need to apply your activator a second time. Now, you don't need to be as generous with it the second time because you're not using it as much to cure the dip. Ooh, I had to stop. That distracted me. I'm sorry. Will you just look at that gorgeous color change? 3 colors. Amazing. Just amazing. So now I'm wiping off any excess activator that might still be left on the nail. You don't want it to be wet because that could contaminate your brush and make it go hard. So I make sure to wipe a little bit, make sure it's completely dry after the 2 minutes of wait time. Now we're going to get into our application of top coat. And you start off with 1, 2, 3 quick swipes, and then you wipe your brush on a paper towel or a lint-free napkin, whatever you have access to. And you want to do this quickly and don't be too careful about it. You're really just doing a quick coat so that you don't contaminate your brush. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to go in with a second layer, which will be more detailed. Okay, by the time you finish putting your initial top coat on your thumb, your pinky should be ready for the second coat. It only takes a few seconds for the top coat to dry, the first layer to dry enough for you to go back in with your second coat. You'll notice that the surface of your nail looks kind of matte and the top coat might be a little bit wrinkled looking, slightly. It's hardly noticeable, but that's when you'll know it's time to go in for your second top coat. And you can take your time with this layer. You don't have to worry as much about the activator hardening your brush because your first layer of top coat is kind of a barrier. So you can take your time, cap your free edge, get all the side walls and as close to your cuticle as you can without flooding it. I would do that same thing where you start in the middle of the nail and then push the brush back to the cuticle and pull towards the tip. Yeah, so that's pretty much all you need to do for your top coat. I will say that this top coat from Modelones, it's pretty comparable to a lot of other top coats I've used that I've really liked. My favorite is Virgo Gem. I use that on a regular basis, but this one's runs a pretty close second. And for the price, as I said in my previous video that I used it, I mean, you just can't go wrong. It's a great set of dip liquids for a reasonable price, so keep that in mind. Because it is a very, very shiny and nice top coat. The base coat is really easy to work with too. Here is the final product. I am in love with this dip powder. I am so glad I chose to use it. I'm a little extra, so the idea of using just one color on all of my nails, it's great if you need like a palette cleanser or whatever, but I was not feeling that. I wanted some sparkle and some color, and I just love the option of a thermal because you know, if you have long enough nails, it can give you kind of a no effort ombre look, which is great. So yeah, I'm dancing because I'm playing disco and it's Shake Your Groove thing on right now, so I'm dancing. Anyway, I guess I figured I would shake my groove thing while I waited for my top coat to dry. Alright, now that my top coat is completely dry, I can apply one of the most necessary things at the end of a mani, in my opinion, which is cuticle oil. It brings moisture back into your cuticles and the skin around your nails, and it helps with nail health. So please do not skip this part of the mani because you will thank me later. Anyway, I make my own cuticle oil, but there are lots of really great cuticle oil companies out there that make quality oils as well. And I will add links to a few of my favorites in the description box. So as I am finishing up my cuticle oil application, I just want to say thank you for watching. I had intended on making this basic dip powder application video a lot earlier on my channel, but I got distracted by a bunch of artsy-fartsy stuff I wanted to do, so now I am just getting to it. I hope this was really helpful. I hope that it has answered a lot of your questions. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye now.